Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Far Cry 6 video, and today let's go over the best early upgrades and unlocks that you absolutely need to pay attention to. They will make things much easier for you, they will make things much more fun for you, and yes, eventually you will want to probably unlock everything, but very early on in the game you will want to prioritize a few of these unlocks over the others just to get a nice early on advantage. Now let's get started with the Supremo. Since there's multiple of these in the game, you of course go and unlock them at one's weapon store using depleted uranium. We will talk about that resource in just a little bit, but there's so many selections you might be wondering which one of these should you get first. Well, definitely start with the Furioso. You can't go wrong with this one as it has a bonus functionality that no other Supremo has in the game. Yes, it comes with that explosive ring that kinda sets a lot of enemies around you on fire and burns them to a crisp, but its best functionality in my opinion is the possibility to press jump and then do a thrust forward in mid-air and also leaving a trail of blazing fire behind you. There's many scenarios in which this is useful, both at gap closing as well as making your escape. You also leave a trail of blazing fire behind you at absolutely no cost, which means you can kind of set up a whole forest on fire and not care too much about it, unless you're in the middle of it. On top of that, it's also useful at traversing the environment, at jumping over ledges or gaps in the terrain, and even more so, you can literally use this as you're skydiving to break your fall the very last second. Just try it out, it's super fun. You don't need the parachute, you don't need the wingsuit. All you have to do is to just press jump right before you hit the ground, and you're gonna be able to go without having any damage dealt onto you. Yes, it takes a little bit of time to get used to the timing of it, but definitely feels satisfying. Now there's other advantages in there that we will talk about, but in the meantime let's focus on a second Supremo that you should definitely go ahead and unlock after this one, which is the Volta. And you're probably gonna wonder, why would you need an EMP, which is the ultimate ability on this one? Reason being is because many of the helicopters and other flying objects in the game are very annoying, and until you get a rocket launcher or something similar, you will definitely want to use those EMPs. It's very useful against helicopters, which otherwise take a very long time to shoot down with regular weapons, so this one instantly kills them and makes them crash into the ground, or at the very least gives you the possibility to steal them, and it also works for ground vehicles, by the way. On top of that, it also unlocks the very important EMP grenade. These are probably my favorite in the game when it comes to throwables, simply because you can use them to pretty much stun enemies and disable almost any vehicle, including tanks. So if you want to sabotage tanks in case enemies climbed into them and they don't want to come out anymore, this is the perfect solution for that, and then you can sabotage them and steal them, or otherwise just disable them entirely and not have to worry about them in the middle of the combat. But in terms of mods, let's also talk about a couple of mods that I recommend early on. The one that I installed immediately was the Rush mod, which slightly improves movement speed. You will be doing a lot of movement in the game, and you will definitely want to reach points faster, especially in some of those scenarios where vehicles or mounts are inaccessible. And I would argue that you will do a lot of running anyway, since it's not always possible to call a vehicle or to use a mount because you're kind of in the middle of combat and you have to take down enemies. Another really cool alternative for anybody who's playing a very stealthy character is the stealth material, which reduces the movement noise that you make during combat. So yes, it can be pretty good, but personally I found the stealth in this game being already pretty decent. Well, at the very least the AI is not that smart to compensate for the lack of the stealth material, so it's not like it's that needed, but the previous one I definitely found it way more useful. Now for the second Supremo slot, which is the charger socket, there's a couple of mods that I've been running with, but personally my favorite and possibly the best in the game has to be the sharpshooter. Headshot kills rewards bonus Supremo charge, which is just all around amazing because you will be doing a lot of headshots anyway. As I've said in the previous video, you will want to use those armor piercing bullets and constantly aim for enemy heads. And what this does is that it greatly increases the amount of bonus you get to your Supremo charge when you're doing headshots. For example, this is if you shoot without it, you basically get just a small little bit over there of line in the overall charge meter. Meanwhile, if you shoot with that on, you get way more than that. I'm not really sure how much of a difference is, but it doesn't take more than a group of enemies enemies to fully charge up your Supremo and pretty much spam it in combat constantly. Now, there is an alternative to this that you might be thinking about, like there's also the kill streak. This makes it so that if you kill enemies rapidly, this will also generate extra Supremo charges, but honestly, it requires 3 targets instead of just 1 for the sharpshooter, and you'll be killing them faster with the sharpshooter anyway, so that's why I fully recommend that one instead. Now, if you want to unlock these, you will need quite a number of Supremo bonds as well as some depleted uranium, so I will cover these really quickly. Yeah, depleted uranium is easily acquirable from any of these anti-aircraft systems, you know, the ones that kind of keep you off the skies when you're flying above them. So if you go to any of these sites, which are quite plentiful on the map, you will also find one of these boxes that will contain depleted uranium, about 50 to 100 each. So what this means is that if you take down these sites, you get enough uranium to kind of unlock at least these 2 Supremos that I was talking about, and that should be enough. Now, as far as the Supremo bonds go, there's a couple of ways to get these. The most straightforward would be to get it from some of these Libertad crates that you can oftentimes find on pretty much any part of the map. There's plenty of them to go around, but the problem is that it's not a guaranteed drop, so sometimes you might get a Supremo bond, sometimes you might just get a piece of clothing, which makes it quite unreliable. Instead, what you need to look for are some of these supply drops. You can find them by this icon on the map, by the way, if somebody notifies you of them, or you can see them with the orange smoke from very far away when you're getting close to them, and they usually are protected by military units. So what you need to do is to take down these units and then collect the rewards inside, because every single one of these will guarantee a Supremo bond as well as some gunpowder and a few other resources on top as well. So this is the most reliable way, and you don't need too many to make these upgrades, as I was saying. But let's move over to your actual camps. You will unlock multiple of these on Yara, and in each of these you can also build facilities. Now, there's a high selection of facilities that you can build and upgrade, but by far the most important is going to be that hideout network. It gives you a lot of benefits. One of them is the fact that it immediately unlocks the wingsuit for you right away, which gives you already 2 really great advantages. One of them is the possibility to just glide way faster than you do with a normal parachute. The second reason is because it also lets you airdrop instead of just fast travel to any previous unlocked locations, which means it's gonna be super easy to reach destinations that might not be close to these fast travel points, and also just to skydive for fun in case that's something you want to do. But of course, there's other advantages. The next big one is going to be the possibility to unlock and buy something called hideout locations. This essentially opens up other hideouts around the map in the respective regions, and this immediately opens them up as fast travel points. And yes, this absolutely means you can immediately fast travel to another point on the map, even though you might have never visited that in the first place, making traversal and like navigation way better than if you were to not have this. The final upgrade that I recommend is the Bandidos barracks, of course assuming that you didn't already do it, but the Bandidos barracks is actually a lot more useful than I initially anticipated. It's going to give you the possibility to enlist way more recruits in your Bandido operations and like kinda have a lot of people to burn through when you're going into kinda like more dangerous types of operations. Essentially, if you didn't know about this, whenever you're out in the wild, you might encounter something like this, where one of these people might be held hostages, and if you liberate them, they essentially kinda join your group as Bandidos. But if you have that building unlocked, it's going to give you a lot more Bandidos, so in this case, just from the first upgrade you get 5 instead of just 1, and you will definitely need a lot of these because you will burn through them during operations. So as you unlock more leaders, you're gonna be able to send them in operations that will give you a bunch of resources and even some cool item unlocks. So these are also gonna fuel up your previous Supremos that I was talking about, which is why it's kind of like a self-feeding cycle. So you will also use those Bandidos during those operations. Some of them might die, so you will also need a fresh supply of people to kind of help your leader during those operations. There's other benefits, of course. It also opens up a shop with regular items and purchases, but eventually if you make upgrades to the facilities, it's going to open up more specialized loot and also make you, just recruit way more people than ever before by doing these activities. These are just some of the cool unlocks that I have gotten early. Totally let me know down below if there's any other type of upgrade that I've missed. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video at any point, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.